Why does a six-figure salary today feel like minimum wage used to? Why has the price of a decent home tripled while your paycheck has barely moved? You are told it is just inflation, unavoidable, like the weather. But that is a lie. The reality? You are working harder than any generation in history, yet you are falling further behind. This isn't an accident, it is a feature of the system. While you struggle to afford groceries, a specific group of people is getting richer because your money is losing value. This is the greatest wealth transfer in history, and you are the one paying for it. To understand how you were turned into a financial battery for the elite, we have to go back to the moment the rules were changed. To understand the magnitude of the theft, we have to look at what normal actually looked like before the rules changed. Let's rewind to the 1950s and 60s. This isn't just nostalgia, it is mathematical fact. In 1960, the median home price in America was approximately $11,900, while the median household income was about $5,600. That is a price-to-income ratio of essentially 2.1. This meant a single income, often from a factory job or a mid-level clerk position, was enough to buy a home, support a family of 4, own a car, and save for retirement. Back then, the currency in your pocket was actually worth something. It wasn't just paper. It was a claim on a tangible asset, gold. Because the dollar was pegged to gold, the government could not simply print more of it whenever they wanted to fund a war or a new social program. They had to be fiscally responsible. If they wanted to spend, they had to tax. Money was finite. Money was sound. During this era, there was a fundamental economic truth. Wages tracked with productivity. From 1948 to 1971, if American workers became 10% more efficient, their paychecks grew by roughly 10%. It was a fair trade. You worked harder, you got richer. The system, while imperfect, honored the value of your labor. Savings accounts actually paid interest that beat inflation, meaning if you were disciplined, you could build wealth simply by not spending. For decades, this was the social contract. You give your labor, the system gives you stability. But if you look at the charts today, you will see a strange phenomenon starting in the early 1970s. The lines for productivity and wages, which had moved together for a century, suddenly split apart like a cracked windshield. Productivity kept shooting up, but wages flatlined. Something fundamental broke. The prosperity of the American middle class wasn't just lost to market forces or bad luck. It was systematically dismantled. The plug was pulled on the American dream on a specific Sunday evening in 1971, and the weapon used was a new type of money that would change the world forever. The date was August 15, 1971. President Richard Nixon appeared on national television and announced that the United States would temporarily suspend the convertibility of the dollar into gold. That temporary measure is now over 50 years old, and it fundamentally broke the world economy. In that moment, the US dollar went from being a certificate of value backed by a physical asset to fiat currency. Fiat is Latin for "let it be done." Essentially, the dollar became valuable only because the government said so. The restraint was gone. The Federal Reserve could now print money out of thin air, with zero consequences for them, but devastating consequences for you. This birthed the modern era of persistent inflation. But here is the secret they don't teach in school. Inflation is not just prices going up. Inflation is the value of your money going down. When the Fed prints trillions of dollars, like they did in 2008 and 2020, they aren't creating value. They are diluting the pool. It's like pouring water into a fine wine. There is more liquid in the bottle, but the wine is ruined. But who gets the fresh water first? This brings us to an 18th century economic concept called the Cantillon Effect. Richard Cantillon discovered that where new money enters the economy matters more than how much enters. When the Federal Reserve prints money, they don't drop it from a helicopter into your backyard. They inject it into the banking system and the financial markets first. Here is the glitch. The people closest to the money printer, investment banks, hedge funds, and mega corporations, get this new cash first. They use it to buy up assets like real estate, stocks, and bonds at today's prices. This buying frenzy drives the price of those assets up. By the time that new money trickles down to you through slightly higher wages or government stimulus checks, the prices of everything have already skyrocketed. The rich got the asset appreciation. You got the grocery inflation. They bought the house for $300,000 using cheap money. You are trying to buy it for $600,000 using devalued money. This explains the K-shaped recovery we constantly see. If you own assets, inflation makes you look like a genius because your net worth goes up in nominal terms. If you sell labor for a wage, inflation destroys you because your paycheck buys less every single month. Since 1971, the S&P 500 is up thousands of percent. Real estate is up thousands of percent. But real wages? They have barely budged. This isn't a market failure, it is a designed siphon. Every time they print money to save the economy, they are stealing purchasing power from your savings account and transferring it to the asset balances of the 1%. They call it quantitative easing. A more honest name would be legalized counterfeiting. You are running on a treadmill where the speed keeps increasing not because you are slow, but because someone else is controlling the dial, but high interest rates and money printing are just the mechanics, the how. The real trap isn't just in the numbers or the banking software. It's in what this constant devaluation does to your mind. If the banking system is the engine of this inequality, then psychology is the fuel. The most insidious effect of persistent inflation isn't just that things get more expensive, it is that it fundamentally changes how you behave. It destroys what economists call low time preference, the ability to delay gratification for a better future. Think about it. If you knew your money would buy more tomorrow than it does today, you would save it. You would plan for the long term, you would build stability, but when you know your money is melting like an ice cube on a hot sidewalk, losing 3%, 5%, or 10% of its value every year, saving feels stupid. It feels like you are losing. So what do? You spend it immediately. Or worse, you are forced into the great global casino. This is the trap. In the past, a doctor, a teacher, or a mechanic could just be good at their job and save their cash. That was enough. Today, that is a path to poverty. Now you are forced to become a part-time hedge fund manager just to survive. You have to dump your savings into the stock market, crypto, or an overpriced housing market just to outpace inflation. You aren't investing because you want to. You are investing because you are terrified of holding cash. This drives the financial nihilism we see today. Why do you think young people are gambling their life savings on meme coins or options trading? It's not because they are greedy, it's because the safe path is dead. When the house costs $1 million and you make $50,000, slow and steady doesn't win the race. Slow and steady creates a permanent renter. The system has turned society into a hamster wheel. You work for money, the money loses value, so you work longer hours to get more money, which loses value even faster. You are running at full speed, breathless and exhausted, but the scenery never changes. This constant anxiety, the feeling that you should be doing more, earning more, hustling more, isn't a personal failure. It is a biological response to a monetary environment that punishes rest. So, is this just bad luck? Is it just the inevitable cycle of empires? Or is it a perfect crime that has left you holding the bag while the architects sail away on yachts bought with your devalued labor? So, here is the bitter truth. The system isn't broken. It is working exactly as it was designed to. The economy you live in wasn't built for the worker, the saver, or the citizen. It was built for the debtor, the spender, and the asset owner. Inflation is not an accident of nature. It is a policy choice. It is a hidden tax that no one voted for, yet everyone pays. Every time you see prices rise at the grocery store, understand that it isn't just supply chain issues or corporate greed. It is the sound of your wealth being siphoned off to pay for debts you didn't incur, to bail out banks you don't own, and to prop up a stock market that benefits the few at the expense of the many. They have successfully turned the American dream into a subscription service where the price goes up every year, and you can never cancel. You cannot stop the Federal Reserve from printing money. You cannot stop the Cantillon Effect. But you can stop believing the lie that this is normal. You can stop playing their game by their rules, educate yourself, buy real assets, and stop storing your life energy in a currency they can print to infinity. The first step to escaping the prison is realizing that you are in one. So, I have to ask you, look at your own life in the last 5 years. What is the one thing that has become so expensive it feels criminal? Is it rent, groceries, or just existing? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to understand how they plan to keep this going forever, you need to watch this video on the debt trap next. Class dismissed.